You know, it was not close, Logan. The series between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Memphis Grizzlies. Sweep them, get out your brooms. It's done in 4. It was done before Rockets and Warriors had even played their game 3. What did you take away, Logan, from OKC dispatching of Memphis so quickly in this series, and what did you make of their overall performance?
I mean, I think the biggest thing from this game was that we finally got a really good SGA game. Like, he kicked it into high gear. Games 1 through 3 in this series, he was giving you 24, 5, and 6 on 35% from the field, 25% from deep, a true shooting percentage of 47.5%. It was a really, really disappointing start to this series for SGA, and we finally saw him get going. Gets to the line 13 times, knocks down 11 of them, shoots 13 to 24 from the field. It was just the game that we've been waiting on from SGA in these playoffs, and I think it's encouraging that you get it before a much more important series. And really surprising was that Oklahoma City was able to withstand such a poor shooting night from their supporting cast. They only make 7 threes in this game. I thought they shot really poorly. Chet goes 0 for, Lou goes 0 for, Kaysen, Wiggins both go 0 for. Like, really, really encouraging that you can still win a game when you shoot that poorly. But it's kind of the two hallmarks of the Oklahoma City season that were on display in this game. Just the collective defense to me, and not really as a team, because like Scottie Pippen gets it going, but specifically how Oklahoma City was able to disrupt Memphis' stars in this series. All of them. Ja had a really bad series. Jaren Jackson Jr. had a abhorrent series. I am
Nightmare.
so disappointed in what we got out of Triple J and Desmond Bane. Like, all three
Mhm.
of Memphis's big three drastically underperformed. And obviously, I think we have to mention when we're talking about this game that Ja Morant was obviously out.
Of course.
But Oklahoma City comes away with it anyway. Memphis could have won this game. But Oklahoma City out executed. But it's crazy to me, man. We'll get to Memphis in a minute. We'll wrap up on OKC, but I'm so disappointed in Memphis' stars, man. And I think they have a lot of questions heading into this offseason about the future of their franchise, what they do with roster construction, and just them in general, man. They've got a lot of questions to answer, but really good win for OKC, and I thought their defense was on display in this series, and finally, SGA gets it going. I think this is a sign of things to come for OKC.
They have very clearly been the most impressive team in the playoff field so far. You think about the 50-point win in game 1, a dominant performance in game 2, game 3, the 29-point comeback, even without Ja on the floor. I thought that was just a remarkable second half. This game, not so much. But what is so consistent throughout this entire series is just the absolutely dominant level that they are at defensively. They forced the most turnovers per game in this series that we have seen in any playoff series since 2004, 19.3 turnovers per game. They are leading the playoffs in steals per game at 10.8. They are leading the playoffs in blocks per game at 6.8. So to have that combination of perimeter speed, of the ability to cause havoc and turn opponents over, but then also to be so great protecting the rim all year. That is what has made OKC one of the best defenses in NBA history, and it was fully on display in this series. The number of excellent defenders who see the floor for this team is just absolutely absurd. It is on another level from any other team, and what they did to Triple J was just vicious, man. It is absolutely vicious. He gives you in this series 16 points per game on 48% true shooting. He has twice as many turnovers as assists. I think he only averaged an assist and a half a game, but he struggled in literally every single matchup. Hartenstein was really good on him with his size and strength, but the one that I think is really going to give Triple J nightmares and did give him nightmares is Alex Caruso, man, and his ability to front him and fight for position in the post and just make it so difficult on him to even get the ball with decent position. And then if he did get the ball, he was going to pester him so effectively. He was going to swipe at the ball and disrupt his handle. And then if Triple J could spin off and feel like, oh, I'm getting to a pretty decent look, guess who was there roaming off and waiting to meet him? Chet Holmgren. Like, it's just so difficult to score on this OKC team, but especially for a guy like Triple J who makes his living attacking mismatches. There was nobody who he could attack in this matchup. And then you're literally going up against the best pure rim protector in the sport every time that you feel like you are going to get a decent look. It's just insane.
I mean, dude, the reason I'm so nervous about Memphis long term and we're looking at them over the next, 5 to 10 years against Oklahoma City is mainly the fact that OKC isn't going anywhere and these players aren't going anywhere. And so
No.
when you're trying to take that leap from a middle of the pack team to a championship contender, the first thing that you have to do is evaluate how you match up against the best of the best in your conference, right? For teams in the East that are trying to make that leap, the standard is Boston. For teams in the West trying to make that leap, the standard is Oklahoma City. And I don't know, man. Like, Ja Morant is always going to struggle, I feel like, in this matchup against this elite perimeter defense. Jaren Jackson Jr. is not going to have anything easy. He is going to struggle consistently, I fear, in this matchup. And so it's like, now you're at this point where you ask yourself, just like, what is all this for? You know, so we run into the buzzsaw that is OKC every year and just get packed up and sent home. What is it going to take to get you to that next level? What does a contending roster against Oklahoma City look like? I don't know, man. I think Memphis is one of these teams that is now really, really stuck in no man's land. And unfortunately, they don't even have a head coach leading the charge. Like, I hate judging a guy off such a small sample size, and I'll give him reign next year. Like, their coach looked underprepared in this matchup, and even more of an issue.
I think that they're going to give Izalo,
yeah, I think so too,
the job because they paid a ton to bring him in as an assistant. Obviously, they pulled the plug on Jenkins, thinking this is our guy. Now, did he deliver the results that you wanted down the stretch? Absolutely not. But at the same time,
I'm not going to judge a guy off just half of a season of basketball or
and getting
than.
swept by the Thunder. I picked this to be a sweep. And, if Josh stays healthy, they probably get game 3. So
but
I think he's going to be the guy for them.
A bigger issue for Memphis than that is their current roster construction. And I don't really know what you do to get better. They're in a tough spot, man. They've got a lot of really talented basketball players. They've got a lot of really good depth, but they've got to make some moves to get more competitive, and I think it starts by trying to improve the half-court offense as best you can, man.
What does that look like?
I don't know. I wouldn't be afraid to move Ja Morant or Jaren Jackson Jr. I'll say it, man. I wouldn't be afraid. I would be aggressive. I would shop those guys, and if it means eventually moving to a different timeline, I don't think that's the worst option.
I really don't think the Grizzlies are going to do that. I also think Ja is going to be very, very difficult to trade if you were to attempt that, just with all the injuries and off-court concerns that people may have. But above all else, honestly, probably just the availability stuff. I think that they're going to continue to try to build around these couple guys, but I'm not optimistic about the Grizzlies. And I've never been optimistic about the Grizzlies. Honestly, I did think that this team was going to be their best yet, and still, obviously, it ended up being a rough finish, but I never believed in any of their previous teams. I've never picked them to win a playoff series. So there's always been this hype around the Grizzlies that, like, they're this ascending team. And I just think Ja, frankly, has been really overrated for years because he's got such an insane highlight reel and like he's got such an electrifying play style. And they were winning a lot of games in regular seasons. If you look back at the 2022 season, for example, but they were always doing it in a way that was very regular season-y. Like their half-court offenses were always bad. They were always relying on a lot of the energy stuff and being as deep as they were and hanging their hat on defense. But then when you get to a playoff series, have you ever trusted a Memphis Grizzlies offense? No. And that's the same story. So for them to improve, the guy who I'm looking at the most is Triple J, because he is the guy who has taken considerable leaps in the last couple years, improving so much as a ball handler, improving so much in terms of his touch, just getting so much better as a scorer. He still has to get way better as a passer. That was my biggest concern for him coming into the playoffs. And I did think that that got exposed whenever they did send doubles at him. I mean, he's just like going to basically force the handle, try to shoot over top. He's a bad passer, and that has to get a lot better. And his handle probably does still have to get a little better too, because otherwise I think OKC is a unique defense in the fact that like they can put a crazy feisty guy like Caruso on you and J-Dub who are giving up size, but they're going to still make it really difficult on you to get position. And then they can have a big roaming who is Chet Holmgren. So like, it's not like a ton of teams can execute that formula of putting a smaller guy on him, but there are some teams who can execute that formula. Those are the couple areas that I think that he has to improve really, really, especially as a passer. With Ja, man, I just don't really see how he gets better unless it's him taking a leap as a jump shooter. And we're 6 seasons deep now, and that hasn't happened at all. Like, it hasn't even gotten a little bit better. He's a really, really bad jump shooter this year. His touch shot making was inefficient this year. So until he can consistently punish drop coverage with that, I think that he's going to struggle against an elite playoff defense like this. And obviously, the other huge problem with Ja is just the complete lack of versatility, his inability to play off ball, and he's not an efficient enough on ball offensive engine to justify the sort of usage and the play style that he is going to demand. So I'm really, really low on Ja right now. Triple J, I do think is their best player, but I'm lower on him than I was in the regular season just because, like, this was the worst case scenario I envisioned for him. This was the worst case scenario. All of my concerns came to light, and just not enough of the good stuff came through. And then with Desmond Bane, like, good basketball player, but you felt his limitations in this one, especially as a ball handler. I think like he's just not somebody who is going to be able to create off the dribble against a defense as athletic and quick as OKC's. I mean, legitimately, Scottie Pippen is doing way more off the bounce in terms of dribble penetration and finding teammates than Desmond Bane is. So it's going to be really hard for Memphis to really improve without those three getting better, because I think so much is already tied up in them. And I think they believe deeply in that trio, too deeply, in my opinion. Like, this is part of the reason I thought them firing Taylor Jenkins was crazy. I just think their expectations are too high. And I think their expectations have been too high for years. I think the league's expectations for the Grizzlies have been too high. So I'm not optimistic. Like, in terms of where I'd like to see them improve, I'd love if they could bring in a big forward who could really shoot. But Triple J is always going to put you in sort of this weird position where it's like you want to have a big physical center you can play alongside him. So, okay, Edey is that guy. You brought him in. I thought Edey had a good rookie season. I thought Edey protected the hell out of the rim today. He had 7 blocks. Like, people try to clown on him. He's totally solid. He's the archetype you wanted alongside Triple J. You got a good bench point guard in Scottie Pippen Jr. Like,
the Grizzlies
I think this is just kind of who they are, man. They're just like a first round exit kind of team. And without making major changes, I don't really see them unlocking a much higher ceiling, but I don't think there's any chance they make major changes.
But that's
like,
why I
think
wouldn't be scared to make moves, is because you're just treading water. Your tires are stuck in the mud.
If they traded Ja or Triple J, would you not be shocked if they did that this offseason? I would be shocked. Even as bad as this season went. They lost 19 of their last 32 games. I'd still be shocked.
Yes, I would be shocked if they got traded, but I think it's the right and smart thing to do long-term for Memphis.
I see what you're saying. I'm a little more optimistic about Triple J, even though this was a bummer of a series for him. And I just think Ja is going to be hard as shit to trade. I really, really do. I don't think you're getting a ton of value back for him.
What's the biggest drawback? Is it the off-court stuff or is it the play style?
I think it's probably availability as much as anything. I mean, he's just going to miss 30-plus games a year. He played 9 games last season. Obviously, really unfortunate what happened to him this year, but he wasn't able to finish the playoff run healthy. I think that it's a combination of all of those factors, the rigidity in terms of play style, and you compare that with some of the off-court stuff and him missing time. And I just don't think he's a very attractive trade candidate. I don't think he's a good building block for a franchise. I don't really think he is a building block for a franchise. Like, I don't think he's a number one. I just don't. So I think this is who the Grizzlies are, man. They're a first-round exit kind of team, and I think people have been too high on them. And you go up against a real big dog like OKC, and you're going to find out where you stand pretty fast. And they definitely got their asses kicked in this one. So I could see them trying to shake some things up, but I don't think major changes are coming. I really think they were counting on the coaching switch being that. I think they thought that was going to be their miracle move. And obviously, you give Izalo a full offseason and we'll see what happens. But I don't think that this is a scheme thing. Again, I thought that Taylor Jenkins instituted the right scheme. He improved their half court offense, and Ja didn't like it. And Ja said, I don't like you. And so Ja made them change things up, and it didn't make them a better basketball team. Just a weird, weird team. I do want to glaze the Thunder a little bit more before we move on, because I was talking about their defense. The one thing I would say is you just cannot underestimate how much better their defense is than everybody else's and how much of a weapon that truly is, because I've talked about this before with OKC, but people will nitpick certain things that they don't love about the offense. And it's like, okay, well, they are a top 3 offensive basketball, and their ability to disrupt opposing offenses, make them uncomfortable, take them out of rhythm is at a completely different level than anybody else. And that is such a special weapon to have in the playoffs. The other big thing that you saw in this series is just the level that Chet and J-Dub were at. I mean, night after night in the first 3 games, especially, they were special. They were clearly the Thunder's 2 best players. And then Shai took over in this one, and Chet wasn't as good offensively. But in this series, Chet gives you 19 and 8 on 62% true shooting. He's shooting over 42% from deep on 6.5 attempts a game. That is massive, that level of comfort and efficiency and volume from beyond the arc. And he's giving you 3 blocks a game, and players shot 42% against him at the rim in this series, Logan. 22% below their average. This is after he held opposing players 19% below their average at the rim in the regular season. It's just one of the great
freak, dude.
modern rim protectors we've ever seen. He's unbelievable. Unbelievably great defensively and playing some of his best basketball offensively. And then J-Dub, just his ability to float the Thunder offense in the non-SGA minutes when SGA was off in this series to give you 23, 5, and 5 on 59% true shooting, his comfort getting to his mid-range, playmaking, attacking in transition, all the while he was also incredible defensively. They were just like by far the 2 most consistently great players on the floor in this series for either team. And when you consider last year's playoff run and the fact that they were not that, it's such a huge positive indicator. And if they play like this, I really have a hard time seeing anybody beat OKC. If you get this version of Chet and J-Dub, I just think they're too great, man. That's too much offensive production to deny from a team that is going to be this insane defensively. And SGA was masterful in this game. It's really big to see him just have one of those signature games where he's getting whatever he wants, which he was. The big thing that I loved from him was just how incisive he was as a driver, and he was great as a finisher, but just like that insistence on getting downhill, I really liked, because he's going to see packed paints in the playoffs. He's got to try to find a way to still navigate his way to the rim and get downhill where he's most effective. And he did that. He was also phenomenal from mid-range, and those shots are always going to be there for him. And I really liked he didn't get caught up with hunting the 3, which in games 1 and 2, I thought he did. And game 3, he was taking 8 3-point attempts per game. That's too many for me with Shai, especially when he's off as a 3-point shooter like he was. And he's just so great inside the arc, and that's so dependable. So he had all that going in this one, and I really liked his playmaking. So those are just the boxes that I like seeing SGA check. I want to see him dominating inside the arc, getting in the paint as much as possible, being selfless as a playmaker. And then obviously when you get your good looks, you got to make them, which he wasn't really doing in games 1 through 3. And he was in this one. So it's a dominant series from OKC. The only reason this game was so close is just they shot so terribly from beyond the arc. Other than that, I think they could have run away with this one. And I think it's a very, very encouraging start to a potential title run for the Thunder.